Report, you do talk about the fact that there were 17 goals that the world, 193 countries, needed to fulfill. And I quote, you say, 7 years in and the world is on track to achieve almost none of these goals. But failure is not inevitable if we collectively challenge our assumptions on how global progress is achieved. I want to ask you, Mr. Bill Gates, how do you think we are going to get on track with the achievement of these goals, and what makes you so hopeful?
Well, certainly the progress in the world up to the start of the pandemic on these goals was very good. Childhood deaths were cut, agricultural productivity was increased, women's empowerment, things like digital bank accounts, particularly in India, were improving a lot. So we had a foundation of success. But as you say, the pandemic was a gigantic setback, and now the war in Ukraine is having very negative effects worldwide. So it'd be easy to lose focus on these goals and not push to get back on track. I'm optimistic that despite these headwinds, we'll be able to use innovation as long as these things remain a priority. Investing in health systems, investing in better seeds, looking at women's empowerment. These goals count. Every life saved makes a huge difference, and so we're highlighting the need to maintain the priorities.
Mr. Bill Gates, on our 75th Independence Day of India, you tweeted and you said, as India celebrates its 75th Independence Day, I congratulate Narendra Modi for prioritizing healthcare and digital transformation. Do you think India has handled the pandemic better than other developing countries? And our vaccination progress, how do you think about that program and the success that it has met with?
Yeah, there's a number of things that were done well in India. The ramping up vaccine manufacturers, Serum, Bharat Biotech, not only were able to provide over 2 billion vaccines to India, but also making a lot of those available to the world. The vaccine coverage that India's achieved with the adults at something like 90%. That's definitely a best practice. I wouldn't say any government was totally ready, and we learned a lot as time went on. But by using digital payment systems to get government payments out efficiently during the pandemic, by having strong messaging on access to vaccines, even building up oxygen so the people who were sick, that the death rate was reduced by that. So a number of things India did well, and our foundation had a chance to partner on those things, and I think we both learned a lot.
Do you think the progress that India is making in green fuel, green hydrogen and ethanol blended fuels is something that can help India, and as an idea, it's something that the world and India should collaborate together?
Well, it's great to see, increased use of solar energy in India. It's great to see, companies like Reliance making large investments there. But we are still very much at the start of what needs to be done. The agriculture piece, in terms of new seeds using the very best science, that needs to be accelerated. Looking at how the industrial economy gets changed, that needs to be accelerated. And so global cooperation on these innovations to get them scaled out, that is of incredible importance.
Mr. Gates, during the pandemic, especially because you speak of food security in your report, there was the issue of migrant labor, and there was the move by the government to bring food and welfare schemes to poor people, to migrant labor. As far as reforms agenda is concerned, do you think this food security which comes through government schemes is something that are sustainable? Will they interfere with the development goals going forward? Do you think free power, free electricity, free water, these are schemes that can help countries to move forward, or is this profligacy that countries should avoid?
Well, certainly the government's very involved in the food system, funding the innovation, making sure that the very best seeds get out to the farmers get educated. You do have to be careful of, something like free water can mean that you drain the water table. So when you have finite resources, making sure they're used well, that you have, fertilizer, but you're using the correct fertilizer, and that, the new seeds, you're helping educate people on those. So the government role's incredibly important, and it's finite resources. So I think innovation is the thing that's going to allow us, even in the face of climate change, to keep food security strong.
Mr. Bill Gates, how do you see India in terms of its position in the world in pushing through these achievement of these development goals, the commitment levels, and the future, the way you see it in terms of delivery from India?
India is super important. It's a huge part of the world's population, and it's an exemplar. Many of the things that have been done with women's self-help groups and digital empowerment in India are leadership actions that are being learned about in the rest of the world. Likewise, the ability to make high volume, low cost vaccines, that's very much a best practice. And so, part of the foundation's work is not only helping in India itself, but then helping take those innovations to other parts of the world where they can be beneficial. India's got challenges, but it's great to see that health and agriculture are, increased priorities, and there's many Indian innovators. So if we get their work all the way out to the individuals, that we can get back on track on these sustainable development goals.
Mr. Bill Gates, I want to ask you, when you speak with the Prime Minister, Mr. Modi, how do you assess his commitment to these sustainable development goals, and how would you rate him amongst world leaders?
Well, he has a huge challenge. India's gigantic country with diverse circumstances. There's a lot of health initiatives that he's been part of, including improving vaccination rates, improving sanitation. We appreciate the partnership to work on women's empowerment, nutrition, supporting those goals and making sure that the innovations are driven quickly. We have a lot of good success story. He's embraced the digital system, including Aadhaar, and there's a lot more to be done. But India has a lot to feel good about.
Mr. Gates, digital financial access has been a significant game changer. How do you see the learnings from this experience enabling other SDG parameters?
Yeah, the one goal that we're actually ahead on is digital finance, including women having access to those bank accounts. And during the pandemic, that was used very effectively. When going to a bank branch, would have been very difficult. So that is a best practice, and we're working with various groups in India to spread that around the world. The ID system underlies it all, and it's an incredible infrastructure that new applications are being added to on a regular basis. And I work with people like Nanda and Neelankani about, driving it even faster.
Mr. Gates, would you say India has actually demonstrated several lessons of handling the pandemic, both on the digitization and on the health front, for other countries to follow? Would you believe that?
Yeah, India did a number of things well. And, getting these oxygen centers out, getting even some new capacity into the health system. Health is such a central thing, and it's been great to see the recommitment to invest in primary health care centers and, vaccination coverage. And, the vaccine companies in India will help us. We need additional vaccines for things like tuberculosis. So, yes, a lot was done well. Every country should learn from each other because this is not the last time that we'll face a pandemic.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bill Gates, for joining me on Frankly Speaking.
You were watching the News Hour at 9. Stay tuned. The News Hour at 9.
The NCPCR has written to Chief Election Commissioner for initiating an action against Rahul Gandhi and Jawahar Bal Manch for allegedly misusing children as political tools. PDP Chief Mehbooba Mufti has hit out at the BJP over Gyan Vapi case verdict. She said the decision would lead to a communal atmosphere, which ironically plays into BJP's agenda. Visuals emerge of a Delhi government-run school in East Delhi where children are being made to study in makeshift port cabins. Big blow to Bihar Chief Minister Nitish Kumar in Daman and Diu. 15 JDU Panchayat members left the party to join the BJP. CBI searched over 30 locations including the premises of ex-Jammu and Kashmir SSB chairman over alleged irregularities in the recruitment process of sub-inspectors. The economic wing of Delhi police will question Jacqueline Fernandez tomorrow in the 200 crore extortion case. A team of experts from Hong Kong has reached Mercedes showroom in Mumbai's Thane to investigate the car after Cyrus Mistri's death. The Punjab and Haryana High Court has granted bail to Kalyani Singh, accused of murdering national-level shooter and corporate lawyer C.P. Sidhu in 2015. Indian and Chinese troops have completed disengagement process in Gogra Heights hot springs in eastern Ladakh sector. India will assume G20 presidency for 1 year starting December 1st in 2022. India will host the G20 summit, which will begin from September 9 next year in New Delhi.
You were watching the News Hour at 9. Stay tuned.
Good evening and welcome. You are watching the News Hour Agenda, India's most loved primetime show at 10. I'm Padmaja Joshi. Today the BJP took to the streets across West Bengal against what they called is a rampant reign of corruption by the state government, or at least people associated with it. But soon this Nabanna Abhiyan turned into a bloody political clash with scores of BJP workers and cops left bloody. It started with the BJP leaders being detained when they were marching to the state secretariat in Kolkata. Police also intercepted several workers of the BJP at various points and eventually used tear gas and water cannons to disperse the crowd. But it didn't end there. The BJP alleged that excessive and illegal force was used on its workers and leaders, a crackdown on any kind of opposition and dissent. A crackdown that is fast turning West Bengal into a North Korea of sorts.
They were using water cannon, they were using those tear gas, and these TMC people over there, wearing the uniform of police, these are TMC cadres. They were throwing stones from the ceiling, from the terrace.
কয়েকশো পার্টি কার্যকর্তাকে বিভিন্ন থানায় আটকে রাখা হয়েছে এবং আমাদের প্রায় 200 থেকে 250 কর্মী আহত হয়েছেন, তার মধ্যে 50 জনের বেশি বিভিন্ন হসপিটালে অ্যাডমিশন আছে। আমরা এটা নিয়ে লড়াই করব। আর আমাদের সভাপতি রিলিজ হওয়ার পরে আমি এবং আমাদের মাননীয় সভাপতি 6 নম্বর মুরলী লেন থেকে আমরা রাহুল দাও থাকবেন, আমরা সেখানে প্রেস কনফারেন্স করে পার্টির পরবর্তী কর্মসূচি জানাবো।
The kind of situation no one can imagine in any part of India, because the police is throwing the bomb on the BJP supporter. It is really unique feature of the West Bengal police. Police tried to stop us, that's why our mob got violent. Otherwise it was a peaceful demonstration.
The Trinamool Congress, though, had a very different version of the story. They pointed out that cops were attacked by members of the BJP, public property was targeted, there was arson and stone pelting that not just left several people injured but also saw several vehicles, including a police jeep, set on fire. So is the protest today a crackdown on dissent or a protest against corruption that went completely